Pompey 2, Ipswich 0. Pompey 2, Ipswich 0, hard on the heels of Middlesbrough 0, Pompey 1. Hard on the heels of QPR 6, Pompey 1. What do we know? How can all this be? It just doesn't follow the most basic rules of logic of life. And yet, are we happy? Happy doesn't cover it. What did you feel when the second goal went in? And you felt a sense that actually it could be 4 tonight. We didn't need 4. 2 did the job. But when that second goal went in, and it was Colby Bishop, and he was even happier than the rest of us, I think, for all sorts of reasons. We don't need to go there. But it was a great moment. It was a great moment. And it was a great moment when we scored the first, because it was our shock centre-half, whose nickname is Shocks, on the training ground. The manager calls him Shocks, and he does cause a shock in their penalty area when we've got a corner. Did you see him? Have you seen him back? I mean, it's only 5 minutes after the game, but at half-time I watched a replay, and to watch him fighting off George Hurst, remember him? We fancied him coming to Pompey on a permanent basis for a while, didn't we? Well, he wasn't up to Shaughnessy at all. And when that corner came in, he was doing everything he could to pull, push, pull the shirt off, drag Shaughnessy off the ball. And Shaughnessy never wavered in his absolute determination, not just to get there first, but to head the ball at the goal and down at the keeper's feet, which is textbook stuff. And so he did it. 1-0. Beautiful. 2 minutes later, 2-0. Swift was unlucky because he had 2 pretty good plugs at it. Again, watching it back at half-time, he was, I think, offside when the ball came in, but it didn't come to him. It came to somebody else, and then he had his scoring opportunity, which I think meant that he was no longer viable as a candidate for offside. And he had 2 good strikes at it, the second one being an excellent strike, hit a defender, and then Colby Bishop got his moment, his nanosecond, really. He reacted first. There have been so many occasions when the ball has bobbled in the area for Pompey, and there's been no blue shirt. There are blue shirts, but those bobbles in the area, they're just a matter of luck. It was just a matter of luck that it fell as it did for Colby Bishop, but he still had to do the business of swivelling and sticking it in the back of the net. And he did. And he's now got just 4 games to score enough goals to be our top scorer for the 3rd season running. Now that would be a case of put that in your pipe and smoke it for 1 or 2 doubters, wouldn't it? Isn't it great when the doubters get it, stuck back at them? The doubters about Pompey. The doubters about Colby Bishop. Isn't it great when they have to just sit quiet, don't know what to type on their keyboards? Isn't it fantastic? And we've certainly got one of those moments, but there are plenty of other things more exciting, more profound, more humane, more delicious than rebuffing those who doubt Pompey and those who claim to be Pompey fans but give us that bit too much grief, because we beat Ipswich 2-0 tonight. It's about 5 minutes after the final whistle, and I'm going to crack me a beer and get into the great outdoors, which I like to do. I like the cold, fresh air after a game of football. And anyway, I'd love to know what you think. You can email if you want to, Pompey Sound on radiopompey@gmail.com. But I'm not giving you a job to do. I know everybody in the media is always begging people to email and text and tweet and all the rest of it. You stay happy with your own thoughts. If you're at all interested, I've got a few random observations that may or may not amuse or intrigue you. First of all, Regan Paul. For goodness sake. He's Premier League, isn't he? And Conor Shaughnessy, perhaps not quite as cultured, but you can't get round him. It used to be that at the highest level in English football, every side used to have a centre-half that you couldn't get round. Liverpool started the trend when Bill Shankly, I'm going back a bit now, bought a centre-half from Scotland. He was huge. And he phoned up his rival Everton manager and said, I've just bought a centre-half. Would you like to come and meet him and we can go for a walk around him? This was a monolithic beast of a man called Ron Yates. And Shaughnessy has similar characteristics in common with the old gigantic number 5s they always were. They always have a number 5 shirt, the big centre-half. And Conor Shaughnessy has that. And what a wild card he is coming forward, coming up for those corners and long throws and the occasional free kick, because he gets there first, because he wants to, and because he can. And it's great to see somebody in your shirt who can do that. Marlon Pack. Oh, how old is he now? And it doesn't matter. How many games is he now playing back to back, 3 days a week, 98 minutes per game? And if anything, he's going on longer during the game and getting faster during the game. But certainly, I mean, that's probably an exaggeration, but he is certainly getting more and more authoritative as he gets older and therefore more authoritative. Nearly said authoritative then. I had to go at it. Take 2. But those 3 guys, they're just so solid. Dazelle had a great game as well. He tidied everything up. He was a bit more anonymous than Marlon Pack, who was everywhere and did the right thing every time he was remotely involved, whether it was a tackle or whether it was a pass, whether he was slowing it down because it needed slowing down, whether it was a quiet word to somebody, perhaps Williams saying you should have gone inside him and cut him off that way, whatever he did. He got it right. Terry Devlin is on his way to being a Premier League quality fullback. There's no question about that. Everyone at Pompey knows that, and we know that. You and I know that. He has a way of, when it's a 50-50, him versus a wing-back, and the wing-back might be coming at him or might be running alongside him, he does things with his physique, with his arms, with his very presence. He just gets inside the zone of that player and comes away with the ball. And when he comes forward, he gets into the right position. And when there's space to be had, he knows how to get there, ghost there, so that he can be dangerous. A real asset. Swift had a good game. Who else had a good game? Well, I'll tell you who I think had the best game, actually. You may think different, but ALLI, when he arrived, he absolutely wrote his own headlines. He was incomparable. There were people, I think, who thought, but didn't want to say it out loud, that he was at least as good as Josh Murphy. That was his first 2 or 3 games. And John Messino had that press conference where he said jokingly, oh, he's dreadful. I can't stand him. He's useless. Need to get rid of him. And that was a joke, not a great one, by John Messino, based on the idea that he hoped that Pompey might be able to poach him from Luton. Is it Luton? Of course it's Luton. In the close season for a decent fee. They won't want too much for him. But if we go on saying he's wonderful, they will. But he went quiet, didn't he? Wonder why. Does anyone know why a footballer can have 2 or 3? It's like the new player syndrome. We know about the new manager syndrome. Is there such a thing as the new player syndrome, whereby ALLI is pumped full of adrenaline for the first 2 or 3 games, gets all the plaudits, all the headlines, all the man of the match stuff, and then thinks, almost gets exhaustion, adrenaline exhaustion, and goes, I'll just float around in the next game. I haven't got much left, really. Anyway, he gets dropped. We don't like to call players dropped because it could damage them. But it seems as though if they have the notion that they've been dropped because they haven't been quite producing everything that they can produce, and then they come back into the side and start producing it, then there's something to be said for dropping players psychologically. Because he had a great game on the deck and in the air. And that was something that struck me. Now, I don't know if you noticed this or not. Maybe I'm wrong in my noticing it, but it seemed to me that the long balls coming from Schmidt were as often as not aimed at ALLI as Bishop. Now, Bishop wins it's 50, 60, 70% of everything that comes his way long in the air because he has that technique. He's worked on it down his decade as a professional footballer, and he's got better and better at it. ALLI, is there any reason why he should be a target man for a long ball out from Nicholas Schmidt? You can't see it physiologically. He was up against a player, what was his name? It's gone out of my head. Faraday, something like that, who's 6 foot and taller than ALLI. And yet ALLI was winning everything against him in the air and winning on the ground against him, which is why they took him off after 68 minutes, because he was having a nightmare game, because ALLI was playing so well. So we're 2-0 up and we're cruising. We were cruising against them. It was us against a pub side. Is that really the best the Championship has got to offer the Premier League next season? Is that Middlesbrough lot, who were slated by their manager after their game with us, are they the best that the Championship has got to offer the Premier League next season? Well, we'll find out what they've got in a couple of games, because haven't we got Coventry? The sort of absolute kingpins of the Championship this season. Haven't we got them? And when they came to us, there was quite an interesting little touchline tussle. Not a tussle, just verbals between John Messino and old Frank Lampard, old Mr. Glum, Mr. Misery. He does, I'm saying that because he does look like a misery out there. He just, I don't know, he looks as though he'd rather be somewhere else, probably Barcelona or Juventus, I don't know. But he's manager of Coventry and he'll have to stick with it for a while at least. Although there are plum management jobs coming up all over the place, aren't there? I can't see him at Bournemouth, can you? Spurs will want another manager in a couple of weeks, and they'll want another manager a couple of weeks after that. That's how it's going down at that place. And so he's obviously holding out for... He's not going to be at Coventry, is he, for the 27 years of Alex Ferguson? No. He just shouldn't sit on the touchline looking as though he's just sucked a lemon. That's all I'm saying. But we get to play them. And we get to measure ourselves against 3 potential proper Premier League sides, of which at least 2, possibly more, will be Premier League sides next season. We'll be playing Liverpool and the other greats such as Aston Villa and Brentford next season. Okay? And then we'll know where we are. Because as things stand right now, what we've done in the last 2 games, right, I think means that we can safely say that if we'd been able to have a consistent team sheet and commit ourselves in the same, because there was a lot of commitment this evening, commit ourselves as equally throughout the season, we would have been chasing a playoff place at the very least. And yet we can also say that if we showed up with the same kind of, I wish I was at home watching a boxed set, which was how we approached the QPR game, it seems. Although we didn't play that badly. We didn't play 6-1. We didn't play like a team that was going to lose 6-1, but, we could have done better. then that's the team that we were, that could have been very easily, and we're still not free from this dark cloud of relegation, could very easily have been relegated. So, on the whole, a cracking evening, soaking wet, freezing cold, and yet, such a roasting of our emotions, a roasting of our sense of self-esteem and goodwill to our players, our club, and all of mankind, with the possible exception of one or two people, such as the incumbent at the White House, but we'll come on to that another time. Pompey 2, Ipswich 0.